I do know what we all should be doing is paying attention. And while we're paying attention, it's really important that we are media literate. And sort of what does that mean, right? Understanding the fact that it is critical, even from a 2016 to a 2024, when we look at our presidential election years, that we really have now mis and disinformation running rampant. We didn't think so much in 2016 that there were going to be, different powers that be sort of influencing and really integrating themselves into our political processes. But now that we know that that's the case, as a public, we need to prepare ourselves. And I like to think of really three basic ways that the general public and all of us need to be mindful. Number one, whenever you receive information, please take the time to verify it. Please take the time to make sure that it's from a credible source. And even if it's from a credible source, do your due diligence to double check and make sure that that's the case. I always encourage people, check that URL. Where was this published? When? Which I think is really, really important. Recycling information from even 2-3 days ago can really now be mis and disinformation. And so making sure that people are aware of not only how they receive information, but that it's credible. Number two, being mindful and making sure that we're not spreading, never intentionally, but oftentimes unintentionally spreading misinformation and spreading disinformation. And, oh, I heard this on Facebook. Oh, I saw a post on Instagram. Oh, well, someone mentioned something when I was at the grocery store. And then you sort of take that information and you run with it. And we're not being critical and asking questions. Again, when was it reported? Who reported it? What are the other details that are coming out in association with said information? And that's really, really important. And then number three, which is also important, we need to get out of our bubbles. We need to get out of our silos. The reality is that the algorithms are going to pump us information. We know this. We know this now. We didn't really know it in 2016, 18, 19, 20, but we know it now. And we know that there are systems in place that if you are leaning towards any direction, left, right, central, conservative, liberal, whatever it may be, that the algorithms are going to pump information into those silos for you. So if you think that Donald Trump, quote unquote, is guilty of X, Y, and Z, then you're going to get information that says exactly that. If you feel that Joe Biden is, doing X, Y, and Z, you're going to get information that says that. So we really need to be critical about what comes to us, what comes in front of us, how we respond to that information, and also realizing that we got to get off social media. We got to talk to people. The majority of Americans in general have more in common. We have actually more in common with each other than we have differences. And what's really challenging is that, yes, we can have different opinions about a variety of topics, but ultimately we want to live in safety and security. Right? We want to make sure that ourselves, our children, our loved ones can walk the street, catch the bus, do wherever they want, and safe, secure, and come home safely. Right? We want to make sure that we can afford to feed our family when they do come home. Right? We're mindful of the economy and how things are moving, and we know that prices at the grocery store are rising, but our wages aren't necessarily rising. Right? And so we're mindful, but the majority of us all really we're so much more in common. And unfortunately, media and disinformation will have us believe that our neighbors are our enemies and that we're actually all different when the reality is that we're not. And so I want people to understand and really take into account and really take the personal responsibility to not spread misinformation, to be mindful of what comes across their feed, be critical thinkers, and make sure that as we go into this election year and things will ramp up, because they are going to ramp up, that we are protecting our peace, but really that we're protecting the information that we ingest and that we share.